special operation Delta Force ADC defused for targeted decapitation and strikes. And then in terms of weapon signatures, in Vietnam War, B-52 carpet bombing, napalm, Agent Orange, helicopter warfare, the first helicopter warfare ever used, M16 rifles. In the Iran war, the precision-guided ammunition, bunker strike on nuclear missile site, drone warfare on both sides, naval blockage, missiles, Houthi drone missiles attack on shipping. And then in terms of duration so far, the Vietnam War lasted for 8 years. The Iran War is 6 months as the August 2026 with the collapse ceasefire. An MOU in the month of June broke down in July, and a failed 60-day negotiating window that expire on August 17. In terms of casualties,
good morning and thanks for joining us. It's again another live session here with African Geopolitics, and we are talking today the US, Iran towards the midterm election. This war between the US and Iran, initiated with the help of Israel, has been 6 months already. Time is going and we might not notice. And why some troops, the greatest casualty so far has been recorded on ground in Iran. US has equally lost a number of soldiers, but this war is costing US a lot of money, especially that Iran at a certain point concentrated the war around the Strait of Hormuz that carried 20% of the world oil. And recently, gas prices have come near record heights, and the president of the US, Donald Trump, actually made a statement recently during the European Union where he was crying and alarming, pronouncing economic sanction, warning any country that is going to have economic partnership with Tehran that they will have to face the US on their way. It showed 58 years ago another endless war for thousands of miles from home, sold as a short campaign, tore apart a presidency, and decided a midterm election. We are talking about the Vietnam War. So tonight we are asking whether history is about to repeat itself. From Joint Base, Andrew Presidential Trump is talking ballroom, tax reform, and beef prices, while overseas the war he started is quietly becoming a kind of shadow image of the Vietnam War. In the next 40 minutes or so, we go straight to a geopolitical expert to separate the message from the reality, the economy he is selling, the war he is not talking about, and the midterm that is fast approaching, that will certainly judge what the governing body is doing with the reception, with the perception of the people. Straighten up with the new material folded, and we are here being joined by our specialist, expert in geopolitical topics, a huge fan of democracy, principle, and practices, Mr. Tingom Ferdinand. Welcome to join us.
Thank you very much, and it's an honor to be here today.
So, we are talking about the war started, whose goal in the beginning was to denuclearize Iran, and now its blockage and sanction has turned economic. Did the military plan fail, or was the economic pressure the real goal all along?
Okay, thank you for that question. And for us to answer the question whether the military goal has failed or it was all economic, we need to go back a little bit some years behind. And to say that Iran and US has been at loggerheads for more than 47 years. There are so many American, both civilian and military, that have been killed either by bombs and the rest we know of. Uh, the, 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 the guy that Trump killed in his first term, who was advocate of roadside bombs, missing out the name. But what stands out is that this war is not something that started today. I think I want to think that Trump just came and decided to take another turn because America and US has always struggled. There's always been this struggle. If you follow the Iran parliament, they always shout death to America, death to Israel, death to the small devil, and which is Israel, and the big devil is America. And so this tells us that this is not something that just started today. It's just that today, 6 months ago, or I think it was February 28th, when Donald Trump came live, that's when he actually decided to take the bull by the horn and say, let's go military. Now, in his first outing, he announced that one of his major goals was to ensure that Iran would not be able to project power around the world, especially in the Middle East. And to achieve that, he needed to decapitate their military, their sea power, their air power, and the rest. And so if you judge their military, I think most persons, most analysts will say that America has been very successful militarily. But then, somewhere along the line, Iran had something that they thought that it was a major influencer of the war, which is the Strait of Hormuz. And that is where most of the 20% of the oil that circulates around the world passes through. And so Iran said, okay, since you are fighting me, and I think that you have successfully destroyed 150 of my ships, and you have also decaded the air, I think that I have something that will be of use to you. So Iran turned to focus more on the Strait of Hormuz. All the activities now are centralized around the Strait of Hormuz. And what is the objective? Make it very expensive for the rest of the world to feel the effect of this war such that they can turn. And apart from the rest of the world, they believe that American economy and American citizens, they're a little bit fragile. They find it difficult to live in hard times, unlike the Iranians. And so if the oil prices and gas prices become very, very harsh, it may play a lot of negative effect to Trump's reputation as the American president and would maybe affect his midterms elections.
Could it be that it's Donald Trump language that is posing a problem at this point in time? Because as we talk, he has embarked on a 400 million project to build a ballroom, and he says it is privately funded. And the other way, we have a war so many kilometers, some people are reporting 8,000 miles away of the US, that is requiring a lot of state funds. And to Donald Trump, he still wants to convince the people of America that economic growth is on the rise and that national debt has not known a rise. Can you really ascertain his language, his narrative?
Okay, let's understand something. We have the domestic policies, domestic games, and the foreign policy. Now let's look at first his language in terms of he's building a ballroom and he says it is for security reasons, and that is something that all the past presidents, most previous presidents have always done. And the way he puts it says, when you go to other countries, dignitaries, but in America, what often happens is that they have to come and use baton, people like the president of China and many other important dignitaries. And him, that is not very, very wonderful of a country like US. And that's why he embarked on it. And he said, well, I will pay for it with my friends. Yes, it will cost us around 400 million. Yes, 400 million US dollars, but then it is privately funded. Now, take that, keep that aside, and let's go back to the Iran situation. The Iran war is far away, but it's not far. Why do I say it's not far? As we may think, we may look at it of physical distance, but it's not far because America, we are living in a unipolar world, and America exercises what we call the hegemony, being the only hegemon around the world, and so it's like the watchdog or the policeman of the world. And so when you become the policeman, it means any part of the world you have some interest. Much more, America has a lot of military air bases in the Middle East. We have in Kuwait, we have in Bahrain, we have in all of these places. And so they are somehow still within, they're still American territory, so to say. And that's why you see that Iran has targeted most of these places, because they think that while I cannot shoot a missile right to the US territory, but I have bases that control and run by US military. So that is the idea. Now, again, let's look at this war again and see if Trump is justified to go to war. Now, if we look at what has been happening, there is a video, I don't know if you can watch it online, of Marco Rubio when they first signed the JCPOA deal. He said, what we are signing today, I'm telling you that history we have is that we are giving Iran the possibility to become, to build up a military such that it gets to a point it becomes very expensive. And I think since that deal was signed, that's exactly what Iran has been doing. Iran had a strategy. I cannot directly fight America at this particular point. But if I keep building missiles and keep building, maybe, let's forget about atomic or a nuclear bomb for now. But I want to arm my military to be so strong, such that whenever I decide to go for the nuclear weapon, I have just weeks like Trump now claims, it becomes very expensive. And we have seen it. They have been bumping and bumping other countries in the Middle East since this started. And they have been doing that successfully. And so fast forward 5 or 10 years from now, what they could have been able to do, because it's not that they are somehow slowed down with their agenda. They were still on the move, trying to build to an extent that it becomes expensive, very, very expensive to build or to fight them. Now, they did not even, when the Hormuz was always an issue, it was not a major point before now. And when this war came, they discovered that Hormuz was really more valuable than they thought before, and they're trying to capitalize on it. And so, first, if you want to think that Trump was wrong, or Trump is wrong for going to the war, it means you are indirectly saying that Iran had the right to have a nuclear weapon. So you cannot take the two things together and say, no, if one is, because one must be accepted as the norm. Should we allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon?
We are talking simultaneously with the economic situation of the US.
Yes.
And Donald Trump opening another financial loophole with the ballroom construction is a way to minimize the money already being drained. But that's not my question. That's not my question,
okay.
Because we are moving to midterm.
Yes.
And Donald Trump says he has mobilized $850 million US to reassure his electoral base that everything will go his way. But come to think of it, can that kind of money offset a war that is pulling the net and giving a hard time to Americans who think that the US is more indebted than it has ever been for the past 42 years?
Okay, now let me try to, there are so many parts to your question that we can take. Let's take the first part in terms of the ballroom. Let's consider it's privately funded, so we should not even bother about that because it's not coming from taxpayers. So that might not be.
Says.
Yes, that's what he says. And so either we assume that that's what he's saying is being truthful. So it's not coming from taxpayers. So that is not the problem. Now let's look at the economic realities. The economic realities is this. If you want to situate the economic realities of the US at this particular point, let's go back 4 years, or 5 years before now, or 6 to be more precise, during the Biden reign. During the Biden reign, what happens is that Biden came in during COVID-19. And during COVID-19, activity stopped and a lot of money was pumped in. They were using, the government had to subsidize everything. And what happened is that people started living on free money. Right? Yes, people started living on that money that was free. Economy, inflation, that's why inflation became, it was up to 9 point something as reported in different newspapers and so the inflation rate was too high. Now Trump has come, he has taken a lot of measures to bring down inflation. Averagely, we will say there's around 2 to 2.5. But then the average person has not feel the consequences of Trump's action because some things that are so vital are still relatively high. We talk of grocery prices, still somehow relatively high. We talk of gas, which is around 3.4, most often it's around 2, and so $2. And so people still feel that these prices are pretty high, but they are not as high as they were before during Biden's reign. That's the first thing we must accept. The second thing is that the war has come to exaggerate or exacerbate the current state. And now, what Trump is doing, for me, is strategically intelligent because Trump looks at it from these two dimensions. It is about his legacy much more than just fighting a war. Trump understands, and I've always said, whenever the world thinks that Trump is on his knees, he always bounces back stronger and better. For the past 50 years or so, no current income, or let's say the ruling party, has won the midterms. But I think that Trump will likely break that change. A few things need to happen. He needs to end the war in Iran. How is he going to end it? He might not really say the war is officially ended, but if he can still try to stabilize the gas prices, the oil prices, he will be able to win the midterms. And yesterday, and a few days back, he said there is the epic or the doomsday, let's call it doomsday for Iran, if they refuse, and he sent out a truth social saying that any country that allows Iran to use their air base, allows Iran or their airports, do currency exchange, currency swaps, and all of that, you will face American sanctions. And if that goes into effect, it will cripple Iran's economy significantly. Apart from the blockade, we should not undermine the fact that Iran is losing every day at least 400 million US dollars every day because they are not able to sell their oil. Yes, they may smuggle out a few, but it's not compared to how they often sell. And so that is a big problem for Iran long term. So I think that you are agitated, you have a question.
Right.
You have some worries.
I want to say look more like Fox News than actually reality. But I'm coming, I'm not really attacking you personally. So he is selling now AI data centers as a job and tax cuts engine that also powered the grid. Does that story even compete with voters' gas price anxiety right now?
Well, there's some reality check, which I think all countries and all economies must come to, and all workers and all staffs and everybody should be conscious of that AI has entered a new phase. And a new phase means there's redefinition of how we work. Many people are still coming to reality, and so workers, and so companies. Now, for instance, companies that used to employ, let's say, 10 workers as developers, you can employ 2, and they will be able to do more work than 10 workers used to do. And what happens on remaining 8? They become standard. So we must also acknowledge that the advent of AI is playing a significant role on economic realities. And this affects organizations, this affects the staffs, and this affects everybody. And so even governments around the world and the US, they're still struggling to see how to navigate, even in terms of policies, how to manage this. And so it's not only about America that is suffering the consequence. And so part of the challenges Trump is facing, despite his wonderful economic policies, you can't disagree with me on that he has done a lot on it to bring back the economy to a booming state. The stock exchange is at its all-time high. I think the consumer index came out a few days ago, was quite good. But there we saw that the job performance or the number of jobs created were revised down for previous months. This current seems not to be given. And I think that some of these things are tied to the influence of AI that you're just asking. Should we say that the AI centers, the data centers will compensate? They cannot. They cannot compensate because the more you build AI centers, the more you are building automated work. And so that becomes now a big problem. Now, there are some sectors that Trump is pressed for, like the manufacturing. One of the reasons you mentioned how the US has become one of the most indebted countries in the world, I think is that somehow along the line, since Kissinger went to China and tried to open up China to the rest of the world and make China the manufacturing center of the world, it made US to depend and to outsource all the production to China and only remain in the tertiary sector like technology, like education, and those social engineering and things like that. But then today's reality has come out to say that if you send all your jobs to China, it means you'll be consuming more than you are producing. Nobody succeeds long term when you consume more than you produce. That is a reality check for the US, and US had to rethink. And I still think you may call that I'm pro, like sounding like Fox, but the truth is that if you are being genuine and looking at these things from a fact base without being too emotional, you know that America needed to go back to the production of goods within America and also compete in the world market, because you cannot only be buying. And if you're only buying, it means you'll be forced to borrow. And if you are forced to borrow, it means you are forced to print money. But the more you print the money, the more it affects the dollar value. You must look at this from a complex problem.
So, what about the voters? The voters have anxiety at this particular moment.
Yes.
With the gas price.
Yeah.
And they are the one who are going to decide the result of the polls.
Yes, this is the pitch I will give to.
Is the promise about the AI enough to?
No. AI will not solve Trump's problems. But I think that Trump should do what, if he wants to win. Let's establish that if Trump wants to win, he needs to do what Obama did in 2012. Okay. Obama came in 2012 and said, yes, I know that since I came in 2008, there was the economic crisis. And we have done a lot to alleviate the situation, but it's not the best. But if you don't vote me to continue to do what I've done, then the consequences will be disastrous if you go to the next party. And so that is what I expect. I think that the Republicans are trying to do, or they will do in the midterms, and say, yes, we understand that the gas prices are relatively somehow high, but look at it, we have done well with the border, we have done well with crime, we have done well with maybe trade deficit, we have done well, and so give us some more time to turn around the situation. We just have 2 years and we will still have some time. But if you turn over power to the Democrats, this is what they will do. The first thing is that we'll bring back transgender for everybody, as the famous at
we are not on campaign time, we will come back there.
No, yes, I was just trying to establish, based on your question, if he can change the strategy, the trajectory. And my argument is that it's possible for him to do if he doesn't try to wear the fact that the voters are feeling the pain. But he should say that, okay, yes, we have done a lot, and you can see in terms of the but we're still working towards this. We still have to solve the problem of Iran. We cannot allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon, and that's why we're fighting. And that the objective at the end of the day is to make America the most powerful nation in the world. I think the voters will be sympathetic with his cause. But if he starts to say, no, you should take, because sometimes he say, no, you should be willing to pay gas for, no, it will not sell. That message will not sell.
If you are just joining us, we have now gone midway to our conversation around the US-Iran November the 3rd midterm poll. And we are questioning the voters' gas price anxiety versus the AI power plants Donald Trump is announcing to bring a job to American citizens. I'm Eugene. We are joined by our all-time expert, Ferdinand Tingo. On to the next question. Falling crime, tax refunds, border numbers, cheaper beef through imports. Is this the economy that Donald Trump termed to be fine? Messaging actually landing, or is it getting drowned out by the war? Now,
it's a good question. The war has a role to play. Let's be very honest. We don't know what will happen. There's what we call the October surprise. October surprise will be that maybe Iran set out a new reality check for, maybe they start bumping, anxiety will increase. That is possible. We also have October surprise or September surprise may come from the Republicans, where they can be able to bring down prices down to earth and reduce the anxiety of voters. That's still possible. We still have about 3 months to go. So those are things that we have to look up to. But now, Trump is saying that there are a lot of AI centers that are going up. There will be a lot of opportunities. That's one thing. Another thing he's trying to sell is the border. He's talking about the border. The border is most secured. And his famous statement, we only need a change of president, which is somehow true. Nobody's coming into America illegally as reported. It might not be very true, but then that's what we're getting. So can he win based on this? Yes. We must also say that no incumbent has successfully defeated the midterms. No incumbent party. So that makes it. And if you look at the polls, the current polls now, the Democrats are not that so much in terms of favoritism as well. There are a lot of advantages. There is infighting, so to say, within the Democratic Party. We have the socialist wing of the party, who says they want to abolish borders, they want to open everybody, they want to do a lot of things that even some let's call them the moderate Democrats are unhappy. And so that makes the party not also at a good position, because while some of these socialist wing are making a lot of strides, the question we're asking, can they succeed when the official election comes? That is still to be seen. The difference now, the Democrats are favored around 5 points, which gives them some lead. But then, as a statistician, they're somehow relatively out of the risk zone, because it's always about 3%. If it was 3%, we know that that is by the margin of error is within the margin of error. But now we're thinking that they have a lead. But can they capitalize it? If they have to capitalize it, then their messaging will also need to not only focus about Trump, they should be able to bring an ideology that the people will. They should be able to capitalize on weaknesses of Trump. Yes, Iran should be another area that they should be focused more to see. They should also pray hard that Iran should make life very difficult for citizens who favor them. They should also be able to present candidates with moderate views, because when candidates become so extreme and taking on an ideology that the American economy or American as a nation has never really shared, which is socialism.
Again, we have not reached campaign time. We're seriously beating campaign for the Republican, but we are.
No, I'm giving this is a campaign message. This is a campaign message for the Democrats.
The question was about U.S. economic performance. Whether Trump is only focusing on the low crime wave.
No, I think the answer is
you have answered the question.
Yes.
You have answered the question, but let me take you forward.
Yes. Okay.
So Trump is announcing new trades with Canada and Mexico, plus fresh economic pressure on Iran. We have been talking about Iran, and I told you from the beginning about the gas shifted crisis. It started with nuclearization, and it's now about the oil prices. So the question is this:
do you really think? Let me ask you.
Yes.
No. Let me ask you. Do you really think that has shifted from the initial goal?
Of course.
No. The issue is this. This is an ongoing war. What is considered a win? Let's come back to Trump.
I want to take you to your question number 3. You said it by about the Strait of Hormuz.
Okay.
In the beginning, Iran does not know the importance of the Strait of Hormuz, and he has now captured the value and expressing on it. So this takes me to the next question. New trade talks on Canada and Mexico, plus fresh economic pressure on Iran. Is this a coordinated America project? Is this what they actually sat and consulted their economists and agree that Trump should diversify the market? Just to remind you that when tariff came as a pressure tool, Trump started stifling the neck of Canada, and Canada had to push back. So today again, some few months, to meet them, Trump is coming back and putting Mexico and Canada as alternative for economic offensive. Is this really what the U.S. is putting forward as an economic force, or is is just a scatter headlines Trump is just using to confuse the electorate?
I want to say that that is a broad question, and if you look at what Trump is doing, Trump has one of the most effective administration. Yes, we may disagree on that, but he has the best interest of America. But the question, how do you achieve it? Yes. The trade agreements with China, with Canada, has always been part of Trump's agenda. You see, there are confrontations even about breaches, about maybe fire leaving and coming, burning, and so there is no way Trump can separate Canada and the US economy. There are two economies that are very close together, either by proximity or by so. And so we discovered that Trump wants better trading relationship with Canada at this particular point. So he has been working on that behind the scenes. You know, at some point in time when he angered the Canadians when he started advocating, saying that he wants to annex Canada, and that even caused the current prime minister to win, because before the right wing was favored. Right. When he started saying, I want to annex Canada, many Canadians got angry and went to the polls to veto against that by saying, no, we don't like that ideology. And because of that, there is still that friction. But he's trying to amend it by saying, okay, let's have new economic relationship. Now, the tariffs, as you mentioned, also played a key role. When Trump brought out the tariffs, the whole world was really angered and disappointed with the US. That must be said. And they were disappointed because they thought that the US, that has given a lot of opportunities to the world and told them that they were the guardians of free trade, now became what? A non-free trade country. And it was like, Trump is Trump. For more than 30 years, Trump has talked of tariffs. So he was just acting on his long-term ideology, same as Iran.
Does that make American first?
But yes, the American concept. That's why I keep saying that if you look at the American first concept, the American first concept is that if you want to make America a powerful nation, you must bring back one, production into the country. How can we bring production into the country? Make it expensive to bring things into the country.
Yeah, that is not
the second, wait, no, you have asked a question. Give me the opportunity to explain how that to Trump is American first concept.
But he has canalized, he has given us the scope within which he wants to make that American first principle. And the question has been asked towards Canada and Mexico. Let's talk about Mexico. You have elaborated about Canada. How is expanding trade towards Mexico positioning American first?
Now, the concept of American first, again, is not American alone. Okay. That's what people mistaken American first to American alone. The idea about American first is that we want to optimize American benefits from its relationship with the rest of the world. That's how I look at the concept of American first as defined by Trump. We will do trade, but those trade terms must not favor only you. That is one thing. For instance, I come to your country, you put taxes on my product, making them expensive for me to sell in your country. Then on other parts, I allow you to sell in my country almost free. So it means you are benefiting at my own expense. That is how Trump defines that as, no, it's not American first. American first says either we go no taxes at all, or all of us levy taxes based on how we think that we can compete. The second thing is that Trump says jobs not in America because we take our jobs and we outsource them. So we need to bring back jobs. What are the possibilities to bring back? To make production cheaper in America and make import expensive. How can you achieve that? Tariffs becomes another potential solution. That is the whole idea of American first. American first also means that the major issue, since we're discussing geopolitics, let's look at this from a wider dimension now.
Just that we are circumcised with two countries, you talk of Canada and Mexico.
No, but look at it. These points are related. If you look at geopolitics from a myopic perspective, you may not get the whole picture. If Trump had favorable trade deals with Canada, with Mexico, and maybe other countries, at that same time, you want to reduce the China's influence. Remember, the major competitor to American hegemony is China. And Trump is doing everything within his power and abilities and as as the legal framework gives him liberty to make sure that he excludes China where possible. That is the case with Venezuela. That is what he's trying to say. If I have good trade relationship with Mexico, they will not be trading with China because currently they're dealing with China. If I do with Canada, that you remember Canadian Prime Minister went to China and he started saying we have a new deal about EVs, cars, you can, and Trump was like, no, you won't do that. Right? Because if they get to Canada, they will get to China, to America. So there is a big picture to look at these all confrontations, even with Iran, is concerned at the global perspective.
Just to let our viewers know, this program has been sponsored by Solarfight, which is an accounting software that helps you to have your business transaction reports and even tax reports in the twinkle of seconds. We shall be coming back on the detail of that particular solution that is a miracle for most third world countries, but I think that will equally revolutionize accounting in most business around the world. Our next question is about historical parallel. You know, we have had the Vietnam War, it was introduced, and here we go. The LBG couldn't out-message Vietnam with domestic win in 1968. Can Trump out-message Iran with data center and tax reform in 2026?
Oh, well, like we said, they lost the midterms and they lost even the presidency because the war became unpopular. Can Trump change the tradition? I think that I'm somehow optimistic. If Trump is highly likely to win the Senate. He may lose the lower house. I think they call it the Congress or the House of Representatives. But this high probability that the Senate might be maintained. But then, again, it goes back to the fact that if you look at what happened during the war, which was also very unpopular, recorded a lot of casualties. I think more than 50,000 Americans casualties, as we did with the introduction, were recorded during this period. And so, but Trump has been somehow tried to reduce the number of casualties, maybe to about 18 confirmed by SETCOM and Pentagon. And at the same time, he has limited it to air power, which makes it less effective compared to ground troops, but also trying to limit the anxiety and the disdain that the American citizens would have given if they were to register the number of deaths that were recorded in the Iraq War, in the Vietnam War, and many other wars that Americans won. And that's why at times people who are pro-Trump think that Trump has been very effective because he is achieving a lot, and the material cost in terms of human is highly reduced since he's just doing it from the air. But then, can that help him win? For now, I'll say 55 against 45%.
So the answer is yes.
Somehow.
Okay.
That if we compare the two wars, based on realities, then he is better placed compared to the administration that was there during the Vietnam War.
The 1968.
Yes.
So if the war is still unresolved by November the 3rd,
yes,
does any of this domestic good news messaging move the needle at all?
If the war is maintained at the current state, I think that will not have a major influence on American election.
We're talking about the moment when the oil price.
The oil price is around $80-something, and sometimes comes down to 70. If you take on average,
it has never reached $88 per barrel.
No, it has gone up to I think 120.
Exceptionally.
Around 120. So that's why they say currently it's around 88,
yes.
And what they're seeking is around 70.
Of course.
Yes, 70 or 75 is still somehow acceptable, and the gas price is currently around 3 point something. They are seeking around 2. Now, is it possible for the US to bring it to 2 between now and November? It's highly unlikely that it will get to that particular figure.
Unlikely?
Yes, it's highly unlikely. It may get to 3 if they can try. Will it get to $70? I think that is still very much. disagree. But Trump also is not ignorant of these things. And Trump also knows the consequences of losing the midterms, because he'll go into a lot of unnecessary, let me use the word unnecessary investigation according to him, impeachments, hearings according to him. And so these things are something that will make him a little bit on like a nightmare, having to go to bed and think that this is what may happen. So Trump is conscious. That's why he's pumping around the 800 million,
850
million into the midterms. And while we look at the Democrats, they are somehow indebted. I don't know.
No, we were not in a campaign.
No, we were not campaigning.
Comparing with the Democrats.
No, we're not campaigning.
Okay.
You are asking a question to win.
Yes.
For you to win, you look at your strengths and the weaknesses of the opponent. Because you must look at what makes the opponent weak.
It's the anxiety of the electorate, the MAGA electorate, that is our concern.
No, if you limit your anxiety, if you limit yourself to the anxiety of the MAGA, then you are assuming that they are not looking for voters from the other end. He is not he doesn't have a problem.
Do you know why they talk of the swing wins?
Trump will not
Do you know why they talk of the swing wins?
States, yes.
Because they will never vote the opponent.
No, instead, this is the ideology. How American system operates. There are 7 states. They are considered swing states. The idea between swing states is that you don't have what? Absolute yes. It's not like California that we know that 90% will be Democrats. If you go to places like 10 Pennsylvania and the rest.
Attention is for the swing wins.
Yes.
Okay.
Attention is for the swing wins, and what you want to do for the swing wins is that you are trying to first tell them that I still have good things in the pipeline, despite my failures. While you are telling that this is what your opponent is doing that is not good. That's why I'm saying that if we cannot take the message without doing that comparison, it will be. So the major focus of this campaign or whatsoever they are trying to do in the midterms are Trump's strategy. The other day he said he has signed deals and reduced tariffs for beef and the rest. Those are all messages and strategies to bring down. He's also trying to galvanize NATO and its ally, not necessarily as a defense force, but to come down and secure the Strait of Hormuz. France, we're talking facts. France is mobilizing, and UK, they're all mobilizing to see how they can ensure that they safe passages. Because we must also underscore that Europe is facing the consequences of this war significantly, and they want it to get to end.
Right. That we are gradually pulling to details of our conversation. It takes us to the second to the last worry. Is the administration actually trying to end the war before midterms, or they are managing the narrative around it? Take, for instance, instead of answering Trump's responsibility, you focus on the opponent. Is that not building a narrative around the war and try to romance it? You want it to pull up to the years of the 1968?
No, let me. I think that Iran wants to make a deal before the midterms.
There was a deal in June.
It fell apart.
Donald Trump flipped it up.
No, Donald Trump did not. If we say don't attack ships, and you're attacking ships, what do you expect?
The first person who went on air and started blowing it off.
Because they were attacking ships. It's just logical. Now there was a deal. It fell apart. Let's put the facts straight. The deal fell apart, right? Now Trump is. The Iranians also understands that if Trump goes after the midterms, making a deal with Trump will become more expensive. And also, Trump is putting a lot of economic pressure. We cannot underscore that. Because just the blockage is affecting. There is a certain degree of pain that Iran can take. The Iranians can take, no matter what we are trying to do.
That was your assumption from day one.
No, it's only 6 months. We can take this for 2 years. That's why I'm saying that Iranians wants to make
at 88 for a barrel.
88.
It's a worry to the matter.
Do you know how much it was during Biden?
You keep
no. We
understand you guys are building a narrative. I'm falling out.
That's why I said we're trying to answer the question.
This is where back your analysts are portfolio.
We're trying to answer the question. And answering the question, we're bringing different parts so that we make the conversation a little bit Now, why did I say Iranians are strong to make a deal? They know that after the midterms, Trump will not have any pressure to make a deal. Trump also wants to make a deal because he thinks that this will give him liberty to campaign. I went in, I did what I was supposed to do, and I'm out. So all of them are trying to make a deal. But who will make a deal is who is willing to accept concessions and say, okay, I'll open up your assets that I've been storing for, so that you can go and straight in the world and you will not. And where is the bone of contention? Iranians, because they're ideologues, which means what is driving them is not the pain, it's their philosophy about maybe projecting power. It's a philosophy about their religion that they don't buy, they rather die. It's making them to resist the pain that America inflicting. But Trump says, okay, I may win, I may lose, but this is my legacy. So Trump is willing to go past the midterms because he knows that this will define, history will define his presidency second term based on what happens with Iran.
Consider oil prices increases again. To what number will it become the Vietnam situation? We are at 88.
Yes. If oil prices increases again, to what number should it become? If we reach $200, which I think is highly unlikely.
That is far. By 120 we should.
By 120 we should expect such.
Good.
Yes, let's say by 120.
So at 88 we're not far from 120.
Well, we might not be far, and we're not so close because 88 means it needs to increase again around 40%, which is highly unlikely. There's something we need to underscore about the Strait of Hormuz, which we have not elaborately bring out the role it has to play.
And that will certainly be part of our next conversation.
Yes, what happens is that as we are speaking, Trump and his allies are passing with ships in the Strait of Hormuz. That one is undisputed.
So, if before the crisis it was at 80%, now their transaction is less than 20%. And
unless Trump is bluffing, unless they're trying to, but it might not be. But the truth is that
most people are following us. They are so worried with your confidence about Trump narrative.
No, I'm not.
And that is why we kept reminding you that are you more focused on the narrative or the war language? Because that's what the government is using to lure the voters. Now all the focus is tilted towards the midterm. And you started striking campaign message here. I was the one who kept on reminding you that no, we are not yet to campaign. Campaign will soon be open, and the September wins, the October win, and the November polls, you are going to define the narrative. But for now, we are only preparing our mind and trying to speak the war language.
Yes, I think that we are speaking the war language, and one of our, when we started, we said, what are the realities nobody's talking of?
Right.
And its effect into the midterms. That's why our conversations may mention issues of midterms, and also we were doing comparison. Who can win the midterms?
No. Comparison with Vietnam. Okay, we are about losing as the Vietnam.
Okay, whether we will lose as the Vietnam.
Yes.
And that told us that our argument was that one, it is not the same because the Vietnam War incurred a lot of human casualties. Trump has narrowly avoided that by refusing
we have not yet lasted the duration.
That is another argument.
Yes.
And so that's why Trump is also telling you that this is a short-lived war.
Well,
he told us that it would be 3 months.
He said that after Venezuela, as you rightly said, the Strait of Hormuz, one thing we should underscore is that the wagons are very expensive, and that is why every dealer around the streets is very cautious.
Yes, that's
whenever
exactly.
the news is not certain, people cannot move.
Yes.
And so you should understand the importance. We shall be coming back on this conversation. Mr. Tingon Fetina, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much, and I think that it was exciting discussing these issues. These issues play a key role in geopolitics, and since we're discussing geopolitics, I think that this conversation is midway because we still have to talk about how this affects China and other parts of the world. And so if you join us, we will appreciate if you can subscribe to our channel so that we keep bringing you exciting discussion as geopolitics is concerned.
So the question isn't whether Washington can win this war or the battlefield. It's already proved it can. The question is whether it can win it at home in time for November the 3rd, the tax reform and data center made for good headlines. They don't lower the price of gas, and they don't end a war that is now costing this administration its own base.
I would disagree with you since
Whether
you are ending.
whether
Since you are ending, but saying that
whether this becomes another Vietnam or a war Trump can
We'll see.
still walk back from depends on choices being made right now and not in some future history book.
Yes.
That is the analysis. As always, verify before you share, and if this conversation gave you clarity tonight, please, that is exactly why we do this kind of work. We'll be back with the next one. Until then, stay informed, stay critical. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.